of the coin. Both are temporary and coming and going together. Even so, this understanding is not enough in order to be convinced that this conviction happens. Better to tell.
So, the conviction means, this is just like understanding or just like knowledge, as he said. So, knowledge is some idea. So, we are sure of that idea, sure of that knowledge. We have no doubt about that. So, then only we are naming it as conviction.
Yes, yes.
But
yes,
it belongs to thought. It belongs to thought. With our thought alone comes to a conclusion like this. But at the same time, the thought also should not be there always to keep the conviction in their hand.
Yes.
It expresses the conviction and it disappears.
Yeah.
But even though the thought comes and goes, the conviction, the understanding will be there.
I understand this as description. What you are telling is description. Okay, let's see.
Okay.
We have 1.5 day more.
Should allow some time to sink in this knowledge, no? This understanding.
Yes.
Once it gets synced in.
Yes.
So this whatever the doubts, no, it gets automatically. For all of us, this happened in this way. We ask many doubts. Ayya replies, but we think that again this is not another knowledge. It is just a recognition of what is happening inside us. It is not. It is not happening to somebody we are listening. What he says is, it is happening very much inside us.
Yeah.
See, you are reacting, and again we want to justify whether I have done it right. Again, that is another reaction. So it keeps on goes like that. The life of all these cycles is few microseconds, as he said, you know. So you don't have to bother about to correct it again through another to bring another emotion. Okay, I am going to be like this. No need. Once you understand this knowledge, once you know this route. Every time you don't have to remember, yes, I am going this route. I have to take it left turn. I have to take a second right. No, nothing. It happens on its own. Like this understanding, once it happens, it will lead you to the freedom. You don't get what you call attached to your emotions again and again and again. It will be there, again it goes. Like that, you have that the liberty of freedom, what is happening over a period of time. This gets undone automatically, like he says, no? You don't have to do anything again, because that is another effort. So this understanding is happening automatically. It is there already there. That's what he is trying to do. That's what I...
Thank you. So I'm just to finish my case. I'm not aware of any doubt that is the problem. But conviction does not happen. I know, but it's not this 100% knowing. You know, I know what you are talking about. It's true. It's no doubt about it. But my question is, how I'm not convinced then?
I think
it's non-need translation.
Your problem will get solved. There is another chapter. Who am I? You will discuss. That time, no, this what you call this conviction will get. I think that will get solved.
Thank you.
When you go to the next chapter.
So now we may take another aspect, the inner and the external, the internal and the external. So, because the many scriptures, many masters, they are not demarcating the external and the internal. They jointly, they will discuss everything in a joint manner. Then only we are unable to have a clear-cut idea. So if you are able to divide the matter into internal and external, the matter is very simple.
Is this also, because Ramesh Balsekar, he talked about the working mind and the kind of neurotic mind, the mind that's kind of just going on its own, thinking mind, So in a way, what you're saying is very similar, isn't it? The working mind is that which deals with all the external applications and everything. And the thinking mind is something that we don't have to deal with, we just let it go as a free flow.
To keep other teachings out of the picture. Not to have that reference point.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it is similar. It is.
So here, the main thing is that if you understand what is purely psychological and purely physical. So here, even everything is in the physical world. We conceive everything only with the help of our mind. Without the help of mind, we cannot conceive anything, we cannot feel anything, we cannot understand anything. So with the function of the mind alone, we deal with everything. So we cannot separate our mind from anything. So everything is within the mind. But even though everything comes within the mind, and within the mind, we have to think the external world, what is the external world, and what is purely psychological world. And for example, we have several kind of emotions within our mind. When we face a adverse situation, some adverse feeling, some for anger or fear or sorrow may happen according to the situation we are facing. Something may happen. So whatever happens in our mind is only a reaction. It is not coming naturally. So when we are facing some situation, the things happens like this. But whatever happens in our mind is only the reaction. But at the same time, the external world demands our action. It is not expect our reaction of it. It expects our action. If you, for example, if somebody is hungry and he asking some food from us, and we get sympathy upon him, it is the reaction. He is not expecting a sympathy from us. He wants some food. Actually, some physical thing he needed. But the sympathy is only a reaction. He is not expect a reaction from us. So in this way, each and every situation does not expect a reaction from us. It expects some action. So here we have to deal with the external world with our action. But at the same time, some reaction may be there. Psychologically, we may have some good feeling or bad feeling must be there. So here, what we have to do externally, we have to do some work. So for the work, we have to use our mind. So without the help of our mind, we cannot do anything in the world. So we have to use our mind to the external world. But at the psychological world, we have no duty. We should not use our mind in terms of the mind, against our mind. So we have no duty. The mind has no duty against the mind. But the mind has duty against the world, against the situation. But here, many school of thought, they divided mind into many parts. Some portion of mind as the wandering mind, and some portion of the mind is the intellect, the emotional part, intellect part, and something as ego, something as in Sanskrit it is named manam, buddhi, siddham, ahankara. They divide it into 4 parts. For example, the chittam means that is our psychological structure, our nature. Our psychological structure, our nature of our mind is siddham. Siddham is the storehouse or subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is known as chittam. And manam means mind, the wandering mind, the thought. I think many things here and there, I have many feelings, and all those things are just like mind. And another one is the intellect, that is known as buddhi. So here the buddhi is intellect. The intellect means the deciding part. What I have to do, what not to do. So that is buddhi. And the ahankara is that, ahankara means the ego. So all these things are happening to me. We have the feeling, if for example I have some anger or fear, we think the fear and anger comes to me. Or if I meet unfavorable situation, we think the unfavorable situation happened to me. So we think we have some personality or ego. So that is known as the ahankara or ego. So they mainly divided the mind into 4 parts, 4 categories. So these 4 parts are necessary if you are related to the external world. So all this classification of our mind into 4 parts, it is necessary to deal with the external things. For example, we may have anger or we may have fear. So that is our mind, that is our emotional part are coming in our mind. So here our intellect has to use, whether I can use our anger to the external situation or we can use our fear to the situation, that is decided by our intellect. The intellect has to decide whether we can do. It can select. This is the good position, I can use our anger. This is not the correct way, I should not use our anger. The intellect has to decide like this. So, for all this happening, only with everything is happening with our subconscious mind. So that is no problem. So whether it is psychological or physical, all of the expression happens from our psychological world is from our subconscious mind. So subconscious mind is not under our control. So we need not speak about the subconscious mind or the chittam. The chittam and subconscious mind we need not speak because it is not under our control. So it is not under our regulation. It happens naturally. It may be the cause, it may be the reason behind us, it may be the operative force behind our mind, but it is not around our control. So whenever we face some situation, the subconscious mind reacts to the situation and produces some feeling, some anger, fear, sorrow, anything. The subconscious mind may be the cause, but we need not worry about it. But after the happening, what we do is the question. But here, for example, when we meet some situation, we think it comes to me, it happens to me. It happens to me, and when we think it happens to me, then I have to take some decision in what way I have to respond to the situation. So here, this classification is necessary. I have to take something is happened to me, and I have to do something in relationship to that. So the intellect has to do some work like this. But if it is purely psychological, no work is needed in the external world. If it is purely psychological, for example, I parked my newly purchased motor bicycle in front of my house. It has not yet been registered, it has not yet been insured. I placed a brand new motor bicycle, I placed my bicycle in front of my house and slept in the night. But in the middle of the night, some thunderstroke comes and destroys the entire bicycle. So I total loss of money and energy, everything is lost. So I have some sorrow. But here I have nothing to do with the loss of my property. The property has gone away totally. I cannot rectify anything. I have no work related to the thing. For example, if somebody has stolen away my bicycle, I have some work to trace back the bicycle. But here no work is necessary. It is completely destroyed. So here externally no work is there. But psychologically we have some problem. Psychologically we have some sorrow. I have the feeling of loss. So it is purely psychological. So this is, externally we have no work. But psychologically alone we feel we have some work. So because we have sorrow, we are unable to be with the sorrow. We feel disturbed by our sorrow. So this is purely psychological. So when something is purely psychological, so can we divide our mind into 4 parts? The ego part, the emotional part and the intellect part. So here there is no necessity to divide our mind into 4 classifications. We have to put the total mind as a mind itself. So as you rightly said, so the intellect also coming as emotion. So here everything is mind. There is no, we cannot divide into mind, intellect, buddhi, ahankara. You need not classify the mind. Psychologically, we have to take it as a total mind. There cannot be, no part of itself cannot be considered as a superior one to deal with the other thing. So in the external world, some part of your mind can be considered as superior, and we can take as an emotion to the necessary tool to deal with the external world. But if it is purely psychological, the intellect has no power. So we have to consider the intellect, ego, whatever it may be, or subconscious mind, ego mind, or intellect mind, or emotional mind. We have to put everything as mind. There cannot be, it should not be classified as mind, intellect, ahankara, or ego. No classification is necessary. If you classify like this, that is the real problem. So you have to put the mind as a total one. So the mind is, if the mind is in struggle, and one part of the mind is in struggle, and the other part tries to get away from the struggle, that is also mind. So that means the mind is in struggle with itself. The one is struggle within itself. There is no two part. The one part is in struggle with the other, another part. That is not. The mind is total. So when we give importance to that, when you give importance to one part, then only it is in struggle with the other part. Actually, if it is purely psychological, if it is purely internal, the mind is total. There cannot be any part, there cannot be any distinction between mind and intellect. Everything is same. If it is related to the external world is alone, all this division is necessary. So then only we can consider some is the emotional part, some is the intellect part. We can use our intellect, and with the help of the intellect, we can use our emotion to the external world. Some fear, we can apply our fear to the external world. We can make use of our anger to the external world. Some situation, anger may be necessary. In some situation, fear may be necessary. So everything is useful. Everything you can use in a positive way. But at the same time, we have no necessity to use anything against the mind. Nothing is needed. No work is needed. No regulation. No development. No restriction. Nothing is needed in the psychological world. So psychological world, what is needed is total freedom alone is needed. Here, no contradiction. The entire freedom, total freedom alone must be needed. Here, actually, the me is part of the mind. So when we give total freedom to the mind, the me also get freedom. The me also get liberation. Because whenever it is taking some struggle within the mind, the me is always in a state of struggle. So when we are giving total freedom to everything, when we accept the total mind as a total mind, then everything is in the flow, becomes the flowing mind. So the me is also flowing, the emotions are flowing, intellect are flowing, everything is flowing. So everything is the flowing. So the liberation alone is there. So liberation means the natural and total flowing of our mind is the liberation.
Because then the sorrow just flows and there's nothing there to say that that's a problem.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem because it's not divided.
So, no problem. Because whenever we divide ourselves to be somebody and I have the problem, then only the problem is there. So there is nobody. Even though let it be, if somebody is there, it is the part of the game. We should not take, even though it think I have some problem, I have sorrow, let it be. We have to give total freedom to the person who is getting sorrow. We should not, we have to give freedom to that means it may look some absurd, but at the same time it is the correct way. If anybody comes, I am in a distress, I have some agony, I am in sorrow, what I have to do. And if you simply ask her, let it be sorrow, you may be with the sorrow, that is the right answer. But at the same time, it sounds, it is not correct. It may looks, it is not correct. But it is the correct answer, it is the correct way. So you have to be in sorrow, we have to be in struggle, we have to be in distress, we have to be in whatever way we have, whatever way happening, let it be the natural way. There should not be, as we have some struggle within ourselves, we should not assume somebody there. We have to create somebody to handle with everything. But if you create somebody to handle with everything, that is the problem. So if somebody happens like this, some ego comes, some intellect may come, I will look after that. So we have to put everything in the flow. So actually, there should not be anything to reach, anything to get. So we have to take the total mind as a happening mind. There should not be any doing. So all doing must be related to the external world. But psychologically, it must be happening mind. So if we think like this, if we understand like this, then we can, if you simply distinguish what is purely psychological and purely external, then we can use the psychological world to the external world. There is no doubt about it. We can use our intellect, we can use our ego, everything we can use. We can use our mind, we can use our ego, use our intellect. If it is the external world, it is a must. Without ego, we cannot deal with. You have to understand you are separate and the other persons are separate. Then only you can deal with. Otherwise, no dealing is possible. So you have to use our intellect. Without the intellect, nothing is possible. We have to use our intellect, you have to use our ego, you have to use our emotion. Everything is good. Everything is good if related to the external world. But if it is purely psychological, everything, in that case also, everything is good, but totally good. Even struggle within yourself is also good. So you have to give total freedom to everything. And you may also clarify the external and internal.
So, from what you said before, it's that everything is changing. All the emotions are changing by themselves. Things are psychological structure. And I thought that it should be reasonable to understand this because this is how life always looks, but it seems like it's not clear for me and for most people. This is why, as you said, there is a fear that if there will be a sorrow, it will be forever, or for many, like a year or something, a month, and it can pass in 2 minutes or 1 hour. So is that like a realization or also an understanding, like the Buddhist people say everything is passing, that everything is moving?
So here we have to understand what is purely psychological and external. So if you are classified like this, and we have to understand, we have no work psychologically. So that alone is the understanding. And we have to test whether what will happen if we have this understanding. That we have to find out. Many schoolmates, many school of people, many scholars, many masters may say in many ways. But everybody is meaning the same thing, but in their own way. But we need not worry about their teachings. But here what we are expected is that we have to distinguish what is purely psychological and what is external and physical. If you have the demarcation like this, then only we can put down the unnecessary thing. So we have to understand what is purely psychological. If you understand what is purely psychological and external, the matter is over. So the division of purely psychological and external, that you have to understand.
Yeah, but even if I know that something is purely psychological, I still don't have the understanding that I should not do anything.
So that means if you understand what is purely psychological, and afterwards you understand you have no work there. So in spite of if you understand that no work is there, the matter is over. Then you have to understand, come to a conclusion, you should not have any work there. And
but I'm saying I don't understand this.
you don't understand that. That means you want to have some work in the psychological world.
Because I do things and it looks better after I do them, at least for...
So first of all, you take whether it is okay or not, let it be later. So first of all, you understand what I am trying to say. So what is my actual concept? And you understand, is there any clarification? If you want any clarification in respect of my concept, respect of my approach, and you can clarify. And for that, whether it is applicable or not, whether it is worth doing or not, that we can test later. First, now we can clarify what we are trying to say. Is there any doubt or clarification?
I don't, it's not a doubt. I think, I don't know if it's true, that something is missing for me to understand this, because it's still, it feels right intuitively, but you said the intellect needs to understand this, and my intellect is not understanding this. Like, for him, something is missing.
Some different kind of instrument has to understand. You expect instead of intellect, some other instrument may be there to understand.
He doesn't understand that it's not his job. He still thinks it's his job.
The job of what? The
because as everybody or many people said here, when there's emotion, and I know the best thing is to let it come, comes naturally the resistance to let it come. So usually I do work with the other part, the one that's resisting, I do work with this, and then the emotion can flow, and then I feel better. So this is also work, but if I don't do it, there's just a
so here also
struggle.
When we let go everything, it is a kind of work. So here the letting go our emotion is not, I am not suggesting. So we have to find ourselves, we have no work. So the letting go the emotion is, it's a kind of another work. That is not the work, that is not I am trying to say.
I know. This is why I'm clarifying this with you, because
the nature's concept is letting go.
Because it seemed to work for me, this kind of thing, it's hard for me to understand that I don't have work, because there is much more emotional freedom with me now than was for some years ago, when everything was just subconsciously just blocking, and then I see I was blocking, so I was working with the part that was blocking already. It was already made. I didn't make him. He was already made in the course of my life. Like
what he is trying to convey.
No. Can you tell some specific examples from your experience?
So people say here also, but like from childhood, from the conditioning and the growing up, you naturally learn to block the emotions and to be afraid of them.
Okay.
So when I discovered this, I saw there is already a me that is in control of the emotions and blocking them. So I was working with this part of helping him, I don't know, so he can let go of his job. But it was still work. But this work seems to work for me. Because in results, in my mind, maybe if I didn't do it, something else would happen, I don't know. But
in what way you are resolving it? By some meditation, dhyana, something like that?
It's more, I can call it more therapy. It's not like a meditation, just listening, allowing everything that you say is also work, and I understand it's also work.
Yes.
But because it seems to work in a specific way.
In West we have very developed approach for subconsciousness, to heal the subconsciousness with the intellect. So it's not so that it's not approachable through the intellect. And this is the trouble which I think a lot of Westerners may have. It's possible to heal subconscious mind with techniques, with therapy, to some degree, or even to deeper. It also is possible to heal the deeper subconsciousness, not maybe